my video on Borderlands 1 being bad has the worst like to dislike ratio out of any video I've ever made. After I post this, that will no longer be true. Borderlands 3 has been relentlessly hated since the moment it came out, and honestly, probably before it came out too. People like to point out just about every aspect of it as a point of criticism, while people who like the game say that the hate is just from people who would have hated anything that isn't Borderlands 2. But what's the truth? Well, in this video I'm gonna give you, well, not the truth, just a bunch of opinions from a guy, that's me, who probably doesn't know what he's talking about. Borderlands 3 isn't bad. It's not great, but it's fun. Everyone complains about the story. The story is so bad it's unplayable, right? Here's a question. Do you remember the story? I barely do. I don't remember the plot nearly enough to hate it. Also, every cutscene is skippable, so you don't even have to pay attention to the story. God knows I don't. I have to wonder, do people actually hate the story, or do they just hate the dialogue? Because the Borderlands game with the best story is the pre-sequel, and people hate that game, so clearly story isn't that important of a factor. Don't get me wrong, the story is bad. But it's Borderlands. If you're playing it for the story, you picked the wrong franchise. Borderlands 2 is a bad story, but it has Jack. Borderlands 3 has a bad story, and it has the Calypsos. Yikes. See, what I'm getting at is the dialogue is really bad. Specifically the Calypsos. The dialogue is so annoying it makes me want to turn off my computer. I cannot agree with that more. But I'm willing to turn off the dialogue and throw some music in the background to enjoy the parts of the game that are genuinely really well done. If you aren't, then yeah, the game sucks. I'm not gonna fight you on that. The dialogue is really that bad. I'm sorry you wasted your money on this game. That said, the game does a lot of things better than any other Borderlands game. I mean, it has iced tea in it, how can you hate it? The game is easy. I'm gonna get this out of the way now. Yes, the game is easy. The easiest in the franchise by far. I'm gonna get into that in the other sections and try to explain why that might not be a big deal. The combat. The gunplay is so much smoother. The guns feel more accurate, they have alternate shooting modes, which makes some weapons a lot more versatile and unique. The different gun companies have more specific qualities, like Hyperion guns projecting a shield, Jacob's guns ricocheting on a crit, Atlas guns having homing bullets, and odds are if you pick up a legendary, it's gonna have an ability that makes it stand out. Also, the combat is much faster paced. People complain the game is easy, at least more guns are viable. In Borderlands 2, I use a Lyuda every single time without fail. In Borderlands 3, I can let the gods of RNG decide what I use. Which brings me to the drop rates. Are all of my items legendaries at level 10? Yes. Yes, they are. Does that make the game easy? It's a baby game, absolutely. Here's the thing, you don't have to use them. If you complain that legendaries drop too often and too early, what's stopping you from selling them and using something else? I swear, just have the self-control to play the game how you want to play it. It's a game played by millions of people. If the developers didn't cater to your specific preferences, you have to be willing to change the way you play the game so that you can enjoy it more. Or you could just say the game is trash and bitch about it, that works too. Personally, I don't want to spend hours farming for a single item when I'd rather get back to the gameplay. It boggles my mind that some people do. The controls. I can slide, I can mantle, that's all I need to say. Best controls in Borderlands, without question. Characters. Each character has 4 action skills, except Moe's, kinda. I can play the game differently every time for several playthroughs. I like it. Also, it's too easy, right? Which means more builds are viable. How many viable builds are there at OP10 in Borderlands 2? Like, maybe 4? Yeah, that's gonna get boring. The endgame. Honestly, my only complaint about the endgame is there are only 2 takedowns. Give me like 20 of them. I like Mayhem better than OP levels. I don't know a single person who actually likes OP levels outside of the satisfaction of completing it. The enemies. I criticized Borderlands 1 because every enemy was a bandit. Yeah, that's still true here. I mean, you have the Mollywan guys, but they're just bigger bandits and we all know it. At least the Mollywan enemies have some variety. You've got Flash Troopers, Riot Troopers, Heavies. It's not great, but it's better than Borderlands 1. The bosses. Yeah, every boss in this game is just a scaled up version of a normal enemy. Shiv is a badass psycho, Mouthpiece is a heavy bruiser, I'm telling you, it's almost every single one. Except for the Vault Monsters. The Vault Monsters are actually unique. That's cool. This video is supposed to be defending Borderlands 3, now it feels like I'm criticizing it. I haven't even gone to the driving missions, the nightmare that is Eden 6, or Ava. Basically what I'm saying is the game isn't a masterpiece by any stretch, but it isn't the insultingly brain-dead piece of dumpster garbage that everyone seems to think it is. There's some shenanigans in here for sure, there's a lot to complain about, but the game is fun. Shoot some people and find 30 legendaries from killing one boss, it's a good time. Oh, also the DLCs are good, that's a pretty common theme in these games.